Before the first rays of dawn have a chance to pierce the dense canopy, the shrill whistle of the instructors pulls us from the uneasy slumber of the barracks, and within minutes, the soldiers rise, muscles stiff and bruised, hearts pounding from a night that allowed no true rest, to begin what is widely regarded as the most grueling segment of the Lancero School, the road march through jungle, swamp, and river, carrying packs that weigh more than a grown man's body, the weight an unforgiving reminder that in real combat, failure to endure can cost lives. The instructors herd us into formation, their voices rising in a rhythmic, almost musical cadence of command, as they pace alongside us, measuring every step, every stumble, every falter, and the rope that binds us together ensures no one can fall behind, no one can shirk responsibility, for in this crucible of human endurance, weakness is contagious and cannot be tolerated. The first few kilometers pass in a blur of mud, roots, branches, and rain-soaked leaves, the jungle alive with sounds that pierce the morning mist. Birds call out in alarm at our intrusion, insects swarm in furious clouds, and the distant roar of rivers, swollen by overnight rains, foreshadows the trials yet to come. We push forward, one synchronized step at a time, the sting of cold water from flooded trails mingling with sweat running down our temples, while the instructors periodically force us into rapid sprints, shouting at any who lag, their words sharp and unyielding reminders that survival in the Colombian jungle is earned, never granted, and that the jungle itself is indifferent to the weakness of those who dare to traverse it. Hours pass with barely a pause as the march stretches over 10 grueling kilometers, each step an assault on muscles already screaming for reprieve, every breath a battle against fatigue and the thick, humid air that clings to the lungs, and yet despite the physical torment, there is an intangible energy that binds the soldiers together, a silent, invisible thread of resolve, shared suffering, an unspoken camaraderie that transforms individuals into a unit capable of facing whatever the instructors or the jungle can throw at them. As we reach river crossings, the challenge escalates further. Ropes dangling above swollen waters force us to hoist ourselves across while balancing packs and weapons, every slip threatening immersion into freezing currents, and the instructor's eyes pierce every movement, noting hesitation, weakness, or faltering, demanding correction with the precision of seasoned warriors who understand that real combat leaves no margin for error. The march continues into the late morning, sun breaking through the dense foliage in intermittent streaks that scorch the wet earth, illuminating soldiers' mud-streaked faces, the veins of exhaustion and determination carved deeply across foreheads, and in these moments, the transformation that Lancero training is designed to enforce becomes apparent. Ordinary human beings are being reshaped into soldiers who move with instinct, who endure pain without complaint, who push their bodies beyond previously imaginable limits, and who begin to understand, in ways impossible to convey outside these forests, what it truly means to survive and fight in one of the most hostile environments on the planet. Yet the instructors are merciless, for survival alone is not enough. The march is punctuated by sudden commands to perform calisthenics, simulate ambush reactions, or navigate treacherous terrain under fire drills, each task layered upon the last, leaving no room to recover physically or mentally, every failure corrected immediately with more exertion, more discipline, and a relentless insistence on perfection. By midday, the soldiers are drenched, bleeding from scrapes against rocks and roots, their bodies screaming in exhaustion, but the spirit of the Lancero school permeates every movement, every grunt, every forward step, and as we crest a final ridge overlooking the dense jungle below, the instructors call for a brief halt, not for rest, but to instill a moment of reflection, to remind us that what we endure here, each drop of sweat, every ache, every failure, is preparation not for medals or praise, but for life, death, and the unpredictable chaos of warfare in Colombia's diverse terrains. And as we look out over the vast canopy, the rivers weaving like silver threads below, the mountains rising like ancient sentinels, and the distant clouds gathering for the afternoon storm, I feel the weight of the legacy carried by every soldier who has trained here before me. Theirs is a lineage of courage, endurance, and unshakable discipline, a standard that Tolmeda enforces with a brutal, yet precise, philosophy. Only those willing to embrace suffering, to confront fear, and to rise above their own limitations will emerge transformed, capable of facing the jungle, the battlefield, and ultimately themselves. And as the instructors' voices once again rise above the forest, commanding us onward toward the next phase of the day, I understand that the journey through Tolmeda is not measured in hours, kilometers, or jumps, but in the relentless forging of the human spirit, each second a hammer blow shaping soldiers into something far greater than they were when they first crossed the gates. No sooner do our bodies collapse into the brief respite of a clearing than the instructors command us to rise, shake off fatigue, and prepare for what is perhaps the most psychologically demanding phase of the Lancero school, the jungle night operations, where darkness becomes both adversary and teacher, and every shadow conceals an unknown threat, every sound a test of nerve, and every misstep a lesson in the unforgiving laws of the forest. As we shoulder our wet, heavy packs and step back into the jungle under the dim light of lanterns and moonbeams filtered through dense canopy, the air thick with humidity and the smell of wet earth, insects, and decaying foliage, the enormity of the challenge becomes clear, for here, unlike the controlled drills of the day, the jungle is an unpredictable force, teeming with unseen wildlife, sudden drops, and hidden streams, and it demands constant awareness, reflexes honed by instinct, and a level of endurance that tests mind, body, and spirit simultaneously. The instructors, their faces stern and eyes unyielding, order us to maintain formation while performing reconnaissance maneuvers, simulating ambushes, and reacting to sudden, unexpected signals that send the soldiers into instantaneous action, crawling through mud, leaping over fallen trees, and coordinating with teammates to move as one living entity. And in this darkness, the slightest hesitation is magnified, the slightest misstep punished not by instructors' shouts alone, but by the raw challenge of the terrain itself, for every vine, root, and slippery stone becomes an obstacle to survival. With rain beginning to drizzle once again, the jungle transforms into a treacherous maze, and the waterlogged ground saps strength from even the most conditioned bodies, forcing muscles to work harder, heart rates to spike, and minds to focus with surgical precision, while the instructor's relentless calls echo like a chorus of discipline, driving us forward, teaching us the essence of fear management, decision-making under stress, and the endurance of human will. As we navigate through the tangled undergrowth, the weight of our packs, weapons, and gear threatens to pull us backward, yet every soldier pushes onward, gripping ropes to cross rivers, crawling beneath branches, and advancing in silence when ordered, learning the vital lesson that noise can betray position, hesitation can cost lives, and cohesion is survival itself, while the jungle seems almost alive, observing, testing, and responding to each step with unseen opposition. Hours stretch into the night, every moment a blur of exertion and adrenaline, punctuated by sudden exercises, mock firefights, and survival scenarios that demand immediate action, as instructors force us to simulate attacks, rescue wounded comrades, and navigate by memory and instinct alone, and I begin to comprehend why the Lancero School has earned its legendary reputation, not merely as a program of physical rigor, but as an immersive crucible that strips away doubt, fear, and ego, leaving only the essence of a soldier capable of facing the unpredictable chaos of real combat. The psychological pressure is relentless, with exhaustion twisting perception, the darkness amplifying every sound, and the cold river crossings shocking bodies already depleted from hours of marching, climbing, and jumping, and yet the shared struggle produces a silent camaraderie, a bond among soldiers forged not through words but through the shared suffering of the jungle and the mutual understanding that quitting is never an option. As the first light of dawn begins to seep through the canopy, revealing the drenched and mud-streaked faces of soldiers, the instructors finally call an end to the night operations, and we collapse near a riverbank, bodies shaking from cold, exhaustion, and adrenaline, yet hearts racing with the undeniable thrill of survival and the faint spark of transformation. For every second endured in that nightmarish jungle has honed reflexes, sharpened instincts, and instilled a fearlessness that cannot be learned in classrooms or gyms. And as I gaze at the dense green that stretches endlessly around us, dotted with the remnants of night exercises, I realize that this is not merely training, it is a baptism by fire, water, mud, and darkness. A relentless test that has the power to destroy the unprepared and elevate the resolute, and in that silent dawn, as the mist rises from the rivers and the forest exhales a long, wet breath, I feel the weight of history, tradition, and sacrifice that permeates every inch of Tolmeda, knowing that the lessons of this night endurance, discipline, courage, and unity will remain long after my body forgets the pain, for the jungle, the instructors, and the base itself have carved them indelibly into the very core of who I am as a soldier, a human, and a witness to one of the most demanding, feared, and revered military training grounds on the planet. In the shadowed heart of Colombia, where mist-drenched mountains rise like ancient guardians over dense emerald jungles, there exists a place whispered about in military circles with a mixture of awe, fear, and reverence, a place known not only as the second largest military base in South America, but as one of the most secret, unforgiving, and legendary strongholds ever carved into the earth by human hands. This is the Tolmeda Military Base, a colossal fortress of discipline and endurance where the air itself feels heavy with history, sacrifice, and the relentless echo of marching boots, and where, long before the sun breaks across the horizon, the grounds tremble with the roar of drills, the shouts of instructors, and the quiet determination of soldiers who have come from every edge of the world to face a challenge so brutal that more than 70% of them will fail before even reaching the halfway mark. The challenge of surviving the Lancero School, the most feared and respected special forces training program on the planet, a crucible of jungle warfare, psychological warfare, and pure physical punishment designed not simply to strengthen a soldier's body, but to dismantle his weaknesses, burn away his fear, and rebuild him into something sharper than steel. And today, as the gates of this enormous base swing open with a deep metallic groan, I step forward not as a visitor, not as a filmmaker, not as a storyteller, but as a soldier joining this world for 24 relentless hours, a world where cameras rarely enter, where secrets sleep behind layers of discipline, and where every minute offers a glimpse into the raw, unfiltered reality of a nation shaped by conflict, resilience, and a determination to survive, because here, in this vast military city hidden among mountains, the Colombian army trains men and women not only to fight, but to endure the impossible, to face terrains that devour the unprepared, to navigate jungles that seem alive with ancient hostility, and to confront enemies both external and internal. The road to this place twists through towering cliffs and whispering forests for 4 long hours from Bogotá, and as our vehicle approaches the immense fortified entrance, I feel the weight of the stories I've heard, the stories of soldiers who collapsed from exhaustion only to rise again, of recruits who swam through black rivers under the silence of moonless nights, of paratroopers who leaped into hunger, rain, and the unknown, and of instructors who carve warriors out of ordinary human beings. The sign above the gate reads like a warning and a promise: welcome, this military base is not ordinary. And as I step inside after an intense security search where every piece of equipment is catalogued, checked, and matched against authorization papers, I feel the shift in atmosphere, the sudden understanding that this is no longer civilian ground but a realm where strength is the only currency, and hesitation the most unforgivable sin. Inside, Tolmeda spreads out like a hidden city, complete with barracks, armories, training towers, simulation centers, neighborhoods, and even markets. Yet beneath this appearance of structure lies an undercurrent of tension, readiness, and the unmistakable pulse of a nation forged in struggle, because this is Colombia, a land that has known war, conflict, insurgency, and the harshest terrains imaginable. And the men trained here must be ready for jungle war, desert war, mountain war, lake war, every kind of war that human or nature can throw at them. And as the commander looks at me with sharp, assessing eyes and asks whether I am ready to feel the real life of a Colombian soldier, I swallow the dryness in my throat, straighten my posture, and answer with as much courage as I can gather: yes, sir, I am ready, though deep inside I know that nothing could have prepared me for the storm about to unfold. The moment my declaration leaves my lips, the world around me erupts into a storm of commands, whistles, and pounding boots as instructors, hardened veterans with faces carved by years of battle and eyes that seem to see straight into the soul, shout orders with a force that slices through the humid air, driving me and the soldiers beside me into a sudden sprint across the parade ground, and instantly I feel the atmosphere shift from anticipation to pure survival. The Lancero instructors waste no time reminding us that this is not a show, not a demonstration, not a friendly introduction, but the immediate beginning of a trial designed to break even the strongest men before allowing them to rise again. And as soldiers pour out of the dormitories and training halls with machine-like precision, I am swept into a sea of helmets, sweat, and determination as voices thunder: run! Move! Faster! Their commands echoing off the concrete walls like the heartbeat of the base itself. The first drill strikes with the force of a wave, a blur of push-ups, sprints, rolling in the dirt, and scrambling across the field under the watchful eyes of instructors who circle us like hawks searching for weakness. And in that moment the realization hits me that nothing here is symbolic, nothing is staged, and nothing is exaggerated. The exhaustion consuming my arms, the burn tightening around my lungs, and the sting of sweat dripping into my eyes are as real as the soldiers beside me who perform every movement with a grim, quiet acceptance that comes only from months or years inside this unforgiving environment. As the drill intensifies, the instructors bark Colombian military chants and orders that echo with a rhythm born from decades of jungle warfare, guerrilla conflict, and airborne operations, and every word, though I struggle to understand it fully, carries the unmistakable weight of history. This is an army shaped not by theory but by necessity, forged by decades of internal conflict and relentless terrain, and every soldier trained here must be capable of enduring what ordinary humans cannot even imagine. The ground beneath us shakes as we run in formation toward the paratrooper training fields, the sun now climbing over the mountain peaks and casting long shadows across the towers and ropes that dominate the landscape like skeletal monuments to courage. And as we reach the open field, I watch the soldiers break into perfectly synchronized motion, forming lines with practiced precision before the instructors unleash a barrage of new commands. Here, in the beating heart of Colombia's Airborne Division, I'm thrown into the basics of the paratrooper role, a technique designed to protect the body during a high-impact landing. And though instructors shout "Condor" repeatedly, driving home the symbolism of the mighty Andean condor that represents strength and fearlessness, I struggle to perform the maneuver correctly, slamming into the ground with imperfect form again and again while the soldiers beside me execute flawless rolls honed by endless repetition. The instructors do not tolerate hesitation, and each mistake triggers another demonstration, another shouted correction, another sprint, another reminder that in real airborne operations, a single poorly executed landing could mean shattered bones or a life cut short. And as I push through the discomfort, bruises forming along my arms and hips, the soldiers around me betray neither complaint nor fatigue. They move like warriors shaped by hardship, their discipline unshakable, their focus absolute. And then, without warning, the training escalates as we are herded toward the massive steel tower rising into the sky like a monument to fear itself, the 14-meter jump platform used to simulate the shock and terror of leaping from an aircraft. And as I climb the metal steps, each one echoing under my boots with a hollow clang, I feel the weight of every story told about this place. Every whispered rumor of recruits freezing mid-air, every tale of shattered nerves and trembling knees, until suddenly I am standing at the edge, wind whipping across my face, instructors shouting behind me, and the ground far below stretching like a reminder of how fragile the human body truly is. My heart slams like a war drum as the world tilts forward and I leap, falling through open air for a breathless second before slamming into the landing zone with a force that sends pain shooting through my legs. Yet even through the shock, a spark ignites inside me, the realization that this place, this trial, this punishment is beginning to carve away fear and reveal something deeper, something raw, something elemental. But there is no time to reflect, no time to breathe, as instructors immediately throw us into formation again, shouting new commands, pushing us across the field toward the next phase. And in that unbroken momentum of sweat, adrenaline, and relentless pressure, I understand for the first time why soldiers across the world speak of Toledo with awe, because here, in this crucible hidden between mountains and jungle, there is no ego, no comfort, no mercy, only transformation. No sooner has the shock of the jump faded from my bones than the instructors push us onward, their voices cutting through the darkness like the crack of distant thunder as they herd us across the grounds toward the next trial, and as we run, the vastness of Toledo unfolds around me, firing ranges stretching across open fields, obstacle courses twisting like serpentine paths through dense vegetation, barracks rising in long, disciplined rows, and towering structures built for rappelling, climbing, or simulating urban combat. Everywhere, the movement of soldiers is relentless, purposeful, and synchronized, an unstoppable tide of discipline that seems to pulse through the base like a living heartbeat. By the time we arrive at the 2nd Airborne Training Platform, this one rising nearly twice as tall and shaped like the open door of a helicopter, the sun has climbed high, burning hot patterns across the metal framework and casting fierce glints into our eyes, and yet the soldiers around me show no signs of discomfort or distraction, their expressions locked into the hardened resolve of men forged in hardship. The instructors demonstrate how to grip the frame, how to stabilize the body, how to push off with precision, and then they begin calling soldiers forward one by one, their voices rising like thunder over the wind. Prepare. Jump. Roll. And each soldier leaps without hesitation, their bodies slicing downward in perfect arcs, their landings powerful and controlled, embodying the fearless ethos instilled into every Colombian paratrooper. When my turn comes, I grip the cold steel of the helicopter door frame, feeling it tremble slightly from the wind rushing through the treetops, and for a brief moment I glimpse the sprawling jungle beyond the base, an endless ocean of green shadows and hidden dangers where many Lancero missions are conducted, and I feel a surge of admiration for the men who leap willingly into such terrain with nothing but their training and their will to survive. I push off, the world tips, and once again gravity seizes me, pulling me downward in a rush of air and instinct before I slam into the dirt with a force that sends a tremor through my legs. But this time, unlike before, something inside me holds firm, and I rise with a steadiness I did not feel earlier, as though the base itself has begun to mold my body into the rhythm of its merciless expectations. Still, there is no time to savor this small victory, for the instructors immediately order us into another phase, a night assault through dense jungle, practicing stealth, reconnaissance, and silent communication, all while carrying full combat gear, weapons, and the knowledge that any misstep, any lapse in attention could be fatal if this were real combat. And in that darkness, guided only by moonlight filtering through the canopy, the jungle alive with unseen creatures and rustling leaves, the soldiers operate as one cohesive unit, instincts and training fused into fluid motion, and I am struck by the sheer discipline and unity required to survive not only the physical hardships but the mental stress that the Lancero school so deliberately imposes. As dawn breaks again, revealing the landscape torn by hours of movement, exhaustion etched into every soldier's face, and the instructors finally signal the end of the 24-hour immersion, a profound silence falls over the base, punctuated only by the gentle rush of rivers, the whispering wind through the mountains, and the distant calls of birds that have watched our ordeal in mute witness. And as I collapse, drenched, bleeding from minor scrapes, muscles screaming in fatigue, and heart still racing from the relentless trials, I understand what makes Toledo legendary. It is not merely the physical challenge, not the fearsome reputation of the Lancero school, nor even the remote, secretive location that shields its training from public eyes, but the comprehensive forging of body, mind, and spirit into a soldier capable of surviving, enduring, and thriving under conditions that would break nearly any ordinary human. It is here, in these forests, rivers, and urban simulation facilities, that the Colombian Army imparts lessons learned from centuries of conflict, internal insurgencies, and environmental challenges, instilling courage, discipline, tactical awareness, and unshakable endurance, ensuring that each graduate, each survivor of this crucible emerges transformed, hardened, and capable of facing the unpredictable threats of modern warfare, natural disaster, and the chaos of hostile environments. And as I leave the base gates after 24 hours, exhausted beyond comprehension but alive with a new understanding of human potential, I carry with me the indelible impression of a place that is simultaneously brutal and majestic, secretive and legendary, a testament to the power of discipline, training, and resilience, and the unwavering spirit of soldiers who dedicate their lives to defending not only their land but the values and safety of a nation shaped by conflict, courage, and the relentless pursuit of excellence.